Hello. You all look very comfortable, sat down there.
Now, we have one of our wonderful crew in a yellow shirt who is going to be wandering around to the microphone. Where is my magical person with a yellow shirt? He's right here. So if you are wanting to ask a question, this is the guy to bribe. This is the guy to show just how enthusiastic you are. To get things rolling, a lot of us here, big fans of you bringing Doctor Who back in style in 2005. One of my favorite roles of yours is on a relatively recent show, The A-Word. I think a lot of us have neurodivergent people in our lives, whether we are themselves or, like myself, had siblings. One of the things that I find most interesting about your role as Morris, as the young granddad that you play, is that, like the Doctor, you are looking out for someone, and you are out there to save them from the world around them as need be. And there is that common theme in a lot of roles that you played. I'm curious what interested you most about this part when it came to you. What did it look like as an opportunity for you as an actor?
You mean Morris in the A-Word?
Morris in the A-Word.
I grew up with the idea that television should not only entertain but inform. I come from that background in terms of the television I watched in the 60s, 70s and 80s. And I felt that a show with a neurodivergent person, somebody on the spectrum, led by somebody on the spectrum, and with a number of actors in the cast, a couple of actors who are Down syndrome, I felt it was groundbreaking. I also felt that what Peter Bowker had done as a writer is that he hadn't made it a very solemn and soapboxy kind of show. It's a family comedic drama, and I just loved that. I felt we were breaking some new ground, and so it's proven, because two of the actors in the show are now going to have their own spin-off show. The two Down syndrome actors, Leon and Sarah, there'll be a show there, so it was great to be a part of that.
Now, you're still relatively new to coming out and doing these conventions.
Yeah.
Are there any people, maybe even here today, who you were a fan of growing up, who as a kid you watched on TV, that it's maybe a little bit surreal for you, hanging out with these people?
Yeah. I've kind of, because I've been in the industry 40 years, I've got used to meeting people. You get a little. I think I did meet William Shatner at one of the conventions a couple of years ago, and I took a moment, because most of all because I miss my dad, and one of the big things that me and my dad did together was watch Star Trek. My dad absolutely adored the show. My dad was a man who, when I was a child, he was quite old school, working class, but he did have a sense of wonder, particularly about space travel, and often, if there was a full moon and we'd be walking down the road, he'd stop and say, "Can you believe that a man has stood on that?" So it was nice it's nice to be around some of the Star Trek actors.
Now, you mentioned there are things that are important to you about this work and about the responsibility of televised performance. You've got something coming up that takes us back to the world of Dickens. As I understand it. Tell us about your new project that's coming out soon.
Yeah, two incredibly talented people, Rhys Thomas and Lucy Armstrong, had this idea about 10 years ago to take The Artful Dodger from Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist and create an origin story for him. So the BBC and NBC commissioned the show, and we've just finished filming 10 episodes of a show called Dodger, which takes Oliver Twist out of the equation, and it's the story of the children in the gang. And I play Fagin, which is an iconic role. We also have Bill Sykes, we have Nancy, we have all those main characters from the novel, and we have a host of new characters, and we had a great time making it. It's kind of in the similar slot to Doctor Who. We're predominantly making it for children. It's led by children, but we're hoping that it's something that a family can sit down and watch together. Yeah.
It's really wonderful. Now, I don't want to eat up all of the time, so we've got a microphone now. Let's get some audience questions. Who's going to be first? Who wants it the most? There we go, right there, leaping out of your seat.
You might remember me from yesterday, right?
I do.
First of all, I want to say thank you for bringing up the A word as someone on the autism spectrum. Thank you, man.
It was
an
honor.
You have officially become one of my idols, and as if you weren't already for being my first doctor. Which brings me to my first question. I heard, unfortunately, most of us know that your time on Doctor Who was, for lack of a better word, troubled. And you have been open about some of your mental health conditions. And may I ask, did some of your mental health conditions contribute to your doctor lasting only one season?
No, I have to clear something up. I think people reading the book have thought that I was suffering acutely with depression and anorexia at the time of shooting Doctor Who. That wasn't the question. The anorexia was a background noise, but it was something that was in control. I had a great time playing the Doctor. My problems were not personal. They were related to the professional running of the set, and that's why I left, not because of anything that was going on within me. It was just events in the workplace. And we all know, whatever workplace we're in, that office politics are not always perfect. So, but I think it's important to concentrate on the 13 episodes I did and the positives. The damage that was done to me personally and professionally was how the BBC handled my departure. They said one thing that was untrue, a number of things that were untrue. They kept me out of the loop. So I experienced a lot of hostility in the press and some from the public. So that's on them, not me.
On the note of correcting myths and so on, I've seen God knows how many clickbait links about, oh, Chris Eccleston will never, ever portray the Doctor again. And now we've got these big Finnish audio dramas that are coming.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, let me ask the dangerous question. The past being the past, is there a path that you could see toward portraying the Doctor on screen again?
No, that won't happen. But what I have been doing just this last week is I've been recording more episodes of the Big Finish audio. In fact, I was in there on Monday. We did our first batch last year, and they were released in May of this year, and they've been very successful. I was given some vinyl versions, and I was trying to get my kids to listen to them on Wednesday, and they weren't interested. They were like, yeah, great. So I've really enjoyed doing that and working with Big Finish and working with their great writers and the great director, Helen Goldwyn. So they will be coming soon.
Let's hear it. More Ninth Doctor. Who's got one? Who's got one? Keep it rolling. Right over here. Yeah, you pick people. You've got all the power.
Thank you. Here. Oh, it's one. Question for you. I'm a big fan of Gone in 60 Seconds. If you could have stolen any of the cars in the movie, which one would you have stolen?
Do you have the expression in Canada, petrol head? I'm not a petrol head. And I absolutely mortified the people on Gone in 60 Seconds because they interviewed me for the press kit, and you can imagine it was quite a macho environment, America, Los Angeles, films about car thieves. And he said to me, so, Chris, what do you drive back in the UK? And I said, I can't drive, I get the bus. I thought he was going to smack me. His reaction was ridiculous. I said, I can't drive, And the producers were like slapping their heads. So I can't really answer that question. I really can't. I meet people all the time and they're obsessed with those cars, and I'm more obsessed with running shoes.
Well, then tell us. I mean, educate us on running shoes. What's the best of the best?
Oh, well, I'm never going to, unless they give me a commercial contract, I'm not going to say.
And that's an actor who knows his worth right there. Next up, go for it.
So you've been done a lot of roles. One as like the villain from 28 Days Later, Doctor Who, all these good and bad characters. What is your more favorite role to do, like a villain or good character, a supporting character?
I absolutely adored playing Fagin. It was a little bit like Doctor Who in that there is a lot of noise around the role of Fagin, and I like getting myself in trouble, I like trying to do a new take on something that is kind of set. And the writing of Lucy Armstrong and Rhys Thomas was so brilliant. So I loved playing Fagin. Some of the villains I've done have not been written brilliantly, and they're one-dimensional, and there's nothing you can do as an actor. I think actors' abilities and reputations get overstated. It's about the writing. If you give a writer a good script, he's going to get attention. So my favorite roles are always the ones that are the best written. I played Macbeth. A lot of the work is done for you when you've got a writing of that excellence.
If I can throw you a little follow-up for that, you've played Macbeth, you've played Hamlet, you've played Iago. Are there any Shakespearean roles that are left on your list, even ones that maybe you've had an opportunity to play that you'd like a second crack at, or ones that you haven't had an opportunity to play at the level that you want to play them?
Yeah, there's a lot. I have a daughter now. I think it has a huge impact on a man when he has a daughter. It makes you look at yourself. It makes you look at women in a different way. It opens up a part of yourself. So my daughter, my beautiful daughter Esme, is 8, and there's a great Shakespeare play called The Tempest, and a character of Prospero and his relationship to his daughter Miranda. I'd like to play Prospero. I'd like to have a go at Richard III, and I'd like to have a go at Shylock in Merchant of Venice. I'd like to have a go at Titus Andronicus. Yeah, I'd like to do more of that, the big stuff, the real big responsibility. You learn so much on stage. I learned so much as Macbeth.
So we got a question back here.
Uh-oh. Hi there, my name is Shanta. First of all, thank you for having, as someone who has a brother with autism, thank you. Because this is really important to bring out.
Sorry to interrupt. I can't. Where are you?
Oh, straight back there.
Hi, thank you.
No, it's okay. Second of all, I'm sorry you weren't my first doctor, but thank you for bringing it back.
Who was your first doctor?
Tom Baker.
What a genius.
So thank you for bringing it back. My question actually is, one of my favorite roles of yours is The Second Coming.
Uh-huh.
What was the most difficult part about that role?
Well, that was written by Russell T. Davies, who is in fact the man responsible for bringing Doctor Who back. As I said earlier, it's not the actors, it's the writer, and it was Russell T Davies that created this new revolution we've seen. So he needs to be credited for that. Second coming, there was nothing difficult about that for me. It was such a gift of a role. I think my strongest memory from that is watching this actress called Leslie Sharp, amazing British actress, in the role of Judith, who is basically Judas Iscariot. Watching her work is my strongest memory from that, and how brilliant she was in that role.
See, where are we? Over here? Yep.
Hi. Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell with a mask. Anyway, I'm on the spectrum team, and I want to say thank you for bringing autism to light. My question is actually from your short time on a show called Heroes. You played a character that could turn yourself and anything invisible. Would that be like your chosen superpower, or would you like to have any other power in the world? And if it is, what is it?
My dad said to me, "You've gone all the way to Hollywood and all you can get is the Invisible Man." And then I told him that I'd auditioned for George Washington and he felt happier, but I didn't get the part. My superpower would be the ability to spread love and world peace. I suspect if I had the power of invisibility, there'd be a number of assassinations. And I think you can probably imagine 2 of them. One in the US and one in the UK.
Go for it. Right here in the
Hi.
front.
Oh, God, that's loud. Hi. So speaking about what you said about the scripts and the writers being very important to the role, I always thought that your role in Thor was a very interesting choice. I was wondering if possible, if you don't want to talk about it, that's all right, but if you wanted to talk about how that happened, how they approached you, what drew you to the role. I thought that when I saw the credits and I saw it was you, I thought it was such a waste that you barely had any lines in that film. So,
I think a number of far better and far richer actors had turned that role down. I think Mads Mikkelsen had turned it down. I think Benedict Cumberbatch had turned it down. God knows how many actors had turned it down. So they went for the cheap option, which was me. I just had my second child. I needed the money. I wish I hadn't done it. But there we go. They said to me, there'll be some prosthetics. That's what they said. I thought, oh, okay, they're going to give me a pair of ears. I was 6 or 7 hours in makeup every day. So, you know, they could have used anybody. So that was a life lesson there. I have the honor of being the worst Marvel villain on record. It's like somebody came up to me once and said about Gone in 60 Seconds. He said, I saw Gone in 60 Seconds and said, oh, I wasn't so good in that film. He said, no, you weren't, but you were so bad, you were good. Thank you.
Let's see where, oh, right over here.
Existence here. I'm wondering
Oh, yeah.
what changes you see in Toronto as a Torontonian, or what are your impressions of Toronto are?
I arrived last night and I came straight to the convention, and then I went to the hotel jet lagged and slept for 9 hours. That was such a big deal for me working with David Cronenberg. Yeah, I mean, what a master. And of course, you approach a Cronenberg film and think, wow, he's going to be a dark, character, and he had the greatest sense of humor of any director I've ever worked for. I remember he was, between takes, he was pushing his glasses up on his head so it looked like he had 4 eyes, which was quite a Cronenbergian image, and he was reading car magazines, which is quite Cronenberg when you think about one of the films he made, and he was incessantly chewing is it called Big Red chewing gum? And he was the funniest guy, and it was the most relaxed set I've ever worked on. I had such a great time, and I think I drank quite a lot around Toronto when I was a much younger man. Yeah, I had a great time. I love coming here. I actually came here first in, I think, 96 for the Toronto Film Festival, where they did a special screening of a film I did with Kate Winslet called Jude. So that was my first time here. I love Toronto. It's about the people. And in the short time I've been here, everywhere I've been, it's the friendliness. Reminds me of home, reminds me of not London, but Manchester and Salford, where I'm from. The warmth. Everywhere here. You really notice it when you dip into a city and dip out. The warmth of the Canadian people. I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
Next one over here.
Hello. Benedict Cumberbatch has had success.
Where am I looking?
Over here.
Wave.
I'm waving.
Okay, hi.
So Benedict has had success dropping his accent for Doctor Strange. Do you get those requests, and how do you feel about them?
What accent does he do in that?
Midwest.
Oh, right, okay. I've done an American accent a couple of times, not so successfully on Existenz. First series of Leftovers, it was a bit shaky. Second series, it was better. Third series, it was much better. And I did one film in the 90s with Renee Zellweger, where it was okay, called Price Above Rubies. I love doing accents. I've noticed with English actors, with British actors, the Scots and the Irish tend to be more successful with an American accent because they have the R sound. You know, there's a huge Scottish and Irish content in the American and Canadian accents. I remember when I worked with Alan Taylor on Thor that I spotted that he was Canadian, and he was quite impressed because he said oot. He was like, oh, that's impressive. How did you know that? He's a lovely guy, Alan. I love doing accents. I love playing John Lennon and doing the Scouse accent. You know, that was a big deal for me, trying to be John, you know. Yeah, I love doing accent. It's part of the fun. I mean, for Fagin, I had to do East End Cockney, you know, and that was interesting, very interesting. And Jewish as well with it, you know. So, I love all that. I'm a show-off.
Okay, next one right there.
Actually, my question was going to be to ask you what it was like to play John Lennon.
Oh.
Was it intimidating at all?
Well, you know, you play Doctor Who, you play John Lennon, you play Fagin, you're asking for it, aren't you? You really are asking for it. I don't give myself an easy time. I found there was some interview that John and Yoko gave to the Rolling Stone magazine, and it's kind of, I found it on the internet, and that was my keystone, because he was very revealing about his dark side and the dark side of fame and the dark side of being in the Beatles. And I listened to that incessantly. You know, there's so much available on somebody like John. It was a beautiful script. The writer was called Robert Jones. He's a British writer, and he's a bit of a genius. He's still not had his great, obvious moment, but he will. He really will. It was so brilliantly written.
Oh, right back there.
Hello. My question is about the Big Finish audios. You've said in the past that you were not so happy with your performance in Series 1 in terms of the light aspects of the character. So I was wondering how you felt your performance had changed for the new series and how you'd like to see your performance change in future sets.
I think from what I've read and the little bit that I've seen, I think probably every actor who plays the Doctor would possibly say their second series performance was better than their first. It's unavoidable that in a role as iconic as that and as complex as that you wouldn't look at your first series and go, okay, that works, that doesn't work. And obviously I didn't get the opportunity to do that. Obviously, audio is a very different medium from the visual. I think, without thinking about it too much, when I'm doing these audios, I am thinking about what worked and what didn't work. But it's very hard to compare the two mediums because obviously I'm not being seen. I would say there's possibly a little more of the lighter stuff in the audio, the tone. The writers are still probably getting used to writing for me as the Ninth Doctor in an audio form. Yeah, you can only address that if you do the same medium again. But it's an interesting question for the Doctors who come through. I would ask them, what did you learn from your first series? That's what I would ask all of them if I could. If I was interviewing them, I'd say, what did you learn? What did you want to change? What did you feel worked? What didn't? I didn't really answer your question. It's a great question, but I hope that helps.
Got one there? Yep.
Question. If you were to be asked by James Bond, would you take the opportunity?
When I was a kid, I was obsessed with Sean Connery's James Bond. I used to pretend to be him all the time. I think it had a huge impact on me wanting to be an actor, the Bond films. The John Barry music. But my sympathy goes out to anybody who's going to follow Daniel Craig. I think the great thing about, I know Daniel, we worked together on a big TV series.
It was our friends from the North?
Our Friends in the North. And quite apart from his performance in the 15 years that he did James Bond, the thing I admire most, and I think most actors would say this, is that he's clearly become a producer on it. His influence on Bond is not just as an actor. He's obviously, as he's grown into the role and been successful, he's been given more and more say. And he's had to reinvent what I think Judi Dench as M called him a sexist dinosaur in one of the early films. And you can see that a man of my generation has seen the changes that are going on around sexual and racial politics, and he's contributed to changing Bond and helping it survive, and I admire him for that as much as easily being as good as Sean Connery, which is some achievement.
On that note,
I don't think with my ears I could ever play James Bond.
Well, I mean, they said...
It's the short answer.
They said he couldn't play it because he was blonde, so...
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's nonsense, isn't it?
On that same note, let me ask you, at what point do you feel like you got comfortable advocating for yourself, speaking up when something on a set was not running the way that you wanted it to, that sort of thing? This has become a topic of conversation of late for a variety of reasons.
I'm from Salford. I was always comfortable with... I mean, you know, probably suicidally to a certain extent, if I felt something was wrong from day one, you know, I spoke up. That's just the way I am.
What advice would you have for any young actors that are out there?
Don't be like me.
Yeah. We got another question right there.
Hi, you were my first doctor I ever watched on Doctor Who, so thank you for introducing me to the Doctor Who universe. I love it so much. My question for you is, what was your favorite episode for you to film in season 1 of Doctor Who?
Oh, I loved playing Stephen Moffat's version of the Doctor, which was in the two-parter called, you're going to have to help me, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. I loved his attitude and energy in that one. I think it was Rob Shearman who wrote Dalek. I think I'm right. That was spectacular to perform. I knew I had the bullets to fire. Yeah. I felt like in Dalek and in The Empty Child, the writers were playing to my strengths at that time. Personally, I loved Father's Day as a Doctor Who episode. My father was very ill during the filming of that, and it was the traditional Doctor Light episode. Every series has an episode where the Doctor steps back a bit, and I found that intensely moving. Rose wanting to meet her dead father, I found that very moving.
They told me we've got about 5 minutes left. We should be able to get a few more questions in straight back there.
First off, I just want to say I love you as the Doctor, period. Secondly, I also loved you in Cracker as DCI Bilborough.
Jimmy McGovern.
That was a fantastic, fantastic series.
Written by Jimmy McGovern.
Yes. And I rewatched it last week in preparation to come. I was just wondering if you could mention working with Robbie Coltrane and working on the series in general. It was a fantastic, fantastic show.
Yeah. First of all, I wanted Robbie's part. I was very young and ambitious, and I didn't want to play second fiddle to Robbie, which is why I left the show. You know, I've always been very driven. I think in the UK, we still only had 4 channels when that show went out. We were getting 13 million viewers a week when that show went out. Unprecedented success. I think Cracker and my death scene as DCI Bilborough was as instrumental as giving me the career and maybe helping me get Doctor Who all those years later as anything I've ever done. And that's all down to the writer, Jimmy McGovern, who is the greatest British television writer that ever walked, as far as I'm concerned. He is the man. What can I say about it, really? Jimmy McGovern is the writer who I built my career on, really. I worked for him. I think I've worked for him more than any other writer. And yeah, it helped my career so much being associated with Jimmy McGovern and Cracker. And we definitely benefited at that time from having, you know, the television landscape has changed completely. Box sets, there are so many channels now. It's hard to capture. I grew up in a time when British television used to capture the nation, and we knew that the nation were watching something together. It doesn't happen anymore because people are doing so many other things. It's very hard, for instance, in the UK, for the UK television industry to address an issue and get the whole country watching in the way that, for instance, Alan Bleasdale did with Unemployment with Boys from the Black Stuff. And I miss those days when you felt like the whole nation was watching together. But Jimmy's the main man.
So they tell me we're running short of time. You're here the rest of the day, though, yes?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so if you've not gone to see Chris yet, you'll be back at your table here in just a little bit, yeah?
I think I'm going straight back to my table, and we're going to be doing some photo ops.
So if you haven't signed up for the photo ops, that was going to be my next line. We're a great comedy team.
I'm here all day, yeah.
So get signed up for those photo ops. I wanted to wrap things up. Doing conventions, coming out here and doing this experience, it's different than doing press for a TV show or a movie or something like that. Is there anything that surprised you or delighted you the most as you started doing these conventions? Because they are a very particular kind of an experience.
Yeah, I didn't do them for many years. I've said it before. I felt like the fans would be can be ripped off here. I'd be interested to know how you feel about it. I did imagine that it would be somewhat like when I do a theatre show, you will get people at the stage door who have got your autograph 50, maybe 100 times, and they want it again because they want to sell it. What I'm constantly reminded of when I come to the conventions is that you people, the fans, want to say something personal to me and get something personal signed. And it's a tremendous positive in my life to come out and meet you all, particularly with what's going on with the pandemic, to have the exchanges we have with the photographs and the signings. It's wonderful, and I always have to report to my children about what's been said and what's been done. So thank you.
So I've got a couple little bits of housekeeping to do before we send him off in style. Can we keep the applause going for our wonderful sign language interpreters? Keep it going once again for our crew in the yellow shirts, making sure that everything goes great. And let's hear it one more time for Chris Eccleston, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.